Sausage Party is a sexual innuendo that accurately describes most of the parties I attended in high school. But in the context of this 2016 rated R comedy where a package of anthropomorphic hot dogs have an existential crisis, this Sausage Party in particular is satire. It's an all-out attack on faith, religion, politics, contemporary society. And if that's not enough to get your ass in the theater, talking hot dogs, social commentary, Seth Rogen, Kristen Wiig, well then, fuck you. The majority of the story takes place in a supermarket, which is home to a wide variety of talking foods and condiments who believe being chosen by the gods, aka everyday people, is a path to eternal bliss. Most of the foods uniquely worship the gods, singing their praises each and every morning with the hope that they will be granted entry into the great beyond. Sound familiar? When a hot dog named Frank learns the truth about the great beyond, he sets out to warn his friends before it's too late and the harsh reality sets in.
The pipes are coming. Oh, Jesus, fuck! Oh, gummy skin! She's peeling me fucking stuff! Fuck!
Holding no punches or food-related punchlines or puns. There's a lot of food puns in this movie. Writers Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg used the innocence of hot dogs and buns to satirize some of the more controversial societal norms. Going into the theater, I expected to laugh, cringe, and forget most of the jokes by the end credits, but this film is much heavier than your average comedy, holding up a satirical mirror to a society where billions of people still believe in the gift of eternal life, as do the majority of the characters in this film. The underlining themes of the movie are mortality and morals. Many of the foods believe their actions directly affect their chances of acceptance into the great beyond, causing some of the characters to be abstinent, bigoted, or completely detached from reality. Sound familiar? Frank, the main hot dog, played by Seth Rogen, and his girlfriend Brenda Bunsen, a hot dog bun pun, played by Kristen Wiig, decide not to have sex in an effort to keep the gods happy, and though premarital sex is the central issue of the film, Sausage Party also tackles several other issues in society like homophobia, racism, bigotry, differences in faith and religion, and of course, mortality. I think it's really clever the way they deal with the idea of mortality. You have these foods where they think their whole purpose in life is to be chosen, and then they realize they're just being massacred in the great beyond. They're being eaten alive. It's kind of like real life. We're born into this universe. We're trying to find ourselves. We're trying to discover who we are as people in a universe that is just constantly trying to kill us in any way, shape, or form. So it's pretty clever. Many characters are not so subtle in their representation of modern stereotypes, like Sammy Bagel Jr., a Jewish bagel played by Edward Norton, and Kareem Abdul-Lavash, an Arabic lavash played by David Krumholtz. Most of the stereotypical jokes and societal criticisms are innocuous but also thought-provoking and analyze major issues we face in today's world, but where the film fails is the comedy. The decision to base the film's central philosophical debate on premarital sex was such a lost opportunity and kind of weird and odd. Instead of aiming its comedy towards more serious issues of the day, the film focuses way too long on premarital sex. I mean, is this really the great debate of the 21st century? I can understand a movie called Sausage Party having a sexual undertone, and trust me, this movie does. The last scene is just a giant, well, I don't want to spoil it, but this is a spoiler review. The last scene is just a fucking giant orgy, but it's so over the top and so focused on that one issue that it leaves Sausage Party a 2-hour dick joke rather than being one of the great 21st century satire films. When the movie was announced, a lot of people thought that it was a kids movie, and then you see the first trailer and it's just so brash, loud, and brazen. To a fault, it moves at a frantic pace and the story never takes a comedic break. Most of the jokes move too quickly to land. The movie never stops and takes a breath and lets the comedy breathe. You never feel like the plot is really going anywhere because it's moving so fast. It's all a blur, and then by the end of the movie you're just watching a giant food orgy and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And that's probably the most disappointing about this movie, is that they're dealing with such serious themes and issues that we have, and they kind of just throw it all the way for dick jokes and cursing. This movie literally could have been called Cursing the Movie 2016. Just because you can say fuck, just because you can say shit, just because you can say cunt, doesn't mean that you should say it how many times they say it in this movie. We need to get a shit, fuck, cunt counter for this film because it's just off the charts. I think one of the biggest problems with the movie is that it doesn't focus on the mortality aspect enough, and it focuses too much on the sex issue, which is, expected when the movie is called Sausage Party. They also just kind of brush aside the religious aspect of mortality. You know, the theory that this could be it, that there might not be an afterlife, so life is almost meaningless. It challenges each and every individual to find a purpose to life, knowing that this could be final. But once again, they just kind of push that to the side for dick jokes. There are certain characters that are hilarious, like Sammy Bagel Jr. and the Lavash. One of the most over-the-top and annoying characters in the film is the douche, who is literally a talking douche. And he's played by Nick Kroll, who plays a character named the douche in Parks and Rec. I guess this was like the character he was born to play. It's like Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Iron Man. Nick Kroll was born to play the douche. This character is a perfect representation of what this movie is. Loud, offensive, crass, rude, arrogant, over the top. It's just so fucking annoying. Like, there's some parts where I can't even understand what this character was saying. He was like, oh, dude, I'm... It's such an interesting concept, and I think that's what makes it so disappointing, is that in a time where we have so many remakes and reboots, and Hollywood never wants to make original ideas, it took Seth Rogen about 8 years to get this movie off the ground and running. Talk about development hell, and then you finally get to make this movie, which is a satire of society, a satire of Pixar films, and you just throw it all away for dick jokes. I mean, when I talk about the douche and his characteristics, you know, loud, arrogant, offensive, crass, these are all the characteristics that could have made the film great, but they just rely too heavily on them. I understand what the movie is trying to say, but it says it too loud. It's screaming at me, and dick, and fuck, and cunt, and shit. And that's really what the movie is. So overall, I would have to give it a 5 out of 10. It's a valiant effort. We need more creative films like this. I love Seth Rogen. I'll always be a Seth Rogen fan. It definitely has funny parts, but overall, it's just too much. It's like going to the buffet. All these things look good individually, and then you stuff them in your face and you go home and you're on the shitter for the next hour or so.